Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. Time for a midweek update. Taking a look at Bitcoin, a few of the alts. We've had some movement here finally, not big movement, but yesterday we saw a little bit of a rejection from this downtrend line that we're seeing. Not a lot of follow through to the downside just yet, but odds favored this would break lower. So we'll deep dive this chart. We'll take a view at the longer term view, as well as a handful of names that are moving today. And a few that I'm watching here, just so many names are right at support levels. And if Bitcoin can just get going, if some of these major alts can get going, I'm watching a few of these for potential reversals as well as some breakouts. Before we do, very quickly, I want to remind you guys, for those that are interested in the video course that I just launched, these are 4 separate courses you can buy individually, but I do have a discount running here. I just started a new promotion that will run through the end of February. For one, if you get all 4 of them, you can buy the bundle package. You get a discount for that. But I just posted on Twitter, if you buy anything on the site starting today through February, you get 20% off for any new customers, code 4STEP. So when you check out, enter promo code 4STEP. And if you've purchased anything in the past, whether it's a video course, whether it's a private group, you are considered a Node Insider and you get 30% off. You must be logged in. Go to the login page, and when you check out, enter code INSIDER, and you'll get 30% off anything you purchase this month. So go check that out. nodeinvestor.com/training. You can get more information, and I will be posting a video course overview later today, which with a little bit more details and insight into what the video course entails. So let's get to it here. So looking at the news here today, first off, we had a huge green candle here on Basic Attention Token. There was some Coinbase FOMO. They had launched an earn bats here, checking out to the Brave browser. You get $10, so pretty cool, but just, you know, goes to show you that the power of Coinbase still has to move some of these names when they announce things and launch things and add them to their exchange. They've done this in the past here with 0x. They did that last time. That's still available here. Start the course, you earn $3 worth of 0x. So kind of cool that they do that. A little bit of an encouragement to earn while you learn. And so they just added this. There is an email you got to wait to get, but you can still take the course, of course, and learn there. So go check that out. That was pretty cool. But let's go take a look at that chart before we deep dive some of these others. Looking at BAT BTC here. It popped on the alerts earlier and hadn't quite cleared this resistance. I posted a chart in the group saying, hey, check out BAT, it's starting to move here. And then I came back later from taking a break from the screens, and you know, there was a huge green candle, just tons of volume on that news. If you zoom into the shorter time frame, you can see here, this is the 15-minute view. Big pop, of course, a lot of sellers showing up here at the top. Look at that big red candle, big volume there as this is pulling right back in. A little bit of reaction to the news there, but no doubt was a big move off the lows in very little time, up 32% at the peak. But going back to Bitcoin here, you can see this is the daily chart of BTC on Coinbase. And ever since we had that big break early January, prices have just really been grinding their way lower. It's been the same story for several weeks now. And here we are early February, and we had a little bit of a dip. I mean, compared to what prices have been doing here over the last week, it felt like a big movement. In the big picture, was not a big move at all. It was less than $100. The average true range in the daily price of BTC now is around $80. And so that is hitting some long-term lows. The last time we saw the ATR go to this level was before the big break at 6K. You guys remember this very low volatility period we had back here in late October, early November, and the ATR was dropping quick at that point. I believe it bottomed out around the 60s, and then of course spiked just as prices begin to break lower and move quickly. A lot of momentum came back in, a lot of volatility came back in, but here we are starting to narrow out again, really tighten up, and so waiting for that next big move really to show up. But overall the tone remains bearish. I'm still cautious here. It's easier to push prices lower from this point than it is to pop them higher, just because there's a lot of resistance. So I'm just kind of watching these levels, but in the near term, you can see prices are right at where they were here during this most recent low at the end of January, and that was where we saw a little bit of a low show up yesterday when prices pulled back. Let me zoom into that 4-hour view. As we can see here, prices essentially found a little bit of a wick, a little bit of a low right at that 33.40 level, and we had a shakeout attempt. And it was funny because this coincided with suddenly everybody posting the "come on, do something" Bitcoin meme, and it didn't take very long. We started seeing a little bit of movement, which that usually does it. Whenever we see that meme start showing up, generally prices move lower after that, but not a lot of follow through to the downside either at this point. So just watching this 33.40 level. Ultimately, if prices do continue to just grind lower, the level that I'm going to be paying attention to here, of course, is that big long-term support that's now been placed here around that 3100, 3200 level. The ultimate low being there in mid-December around 3130. And we're not too far away from that on a percentage basis. You can see prices are really 6-7% to that point now, and then on the upside prices would have to move about 6-7% to start clearing some near-term resistance around 3600, and then the next big level of resistance really is that 3700 level, and that's almost 11% higher than from where prices are right now. So we got to see a pretty decent sized move to break out of this low volatility, this low movement, small range that we're seeing. But right now I'm just remaining cautious. Odds favor this continues to go lower, and until that changes, until the bulls prove that they're back, then that's the stance I'm going to take. For those of you that are tracking the trading crypto vlog, the updates, I haven't made any trades yet, and I'm waiting. I'm just being patient here. So February has been very quiet and very slow from the crypto perspective. I've been staying pretty busy on the stock side, of course, with earnings season. That's actually been really good, so it's kind of nice that that's staying busy right now while this crypto side is very slow. But hopefully we get some movement here soon, because I'm watching a few of these names starting to hit this long-term support, long-term lows. One of the ones on my radar is Stellar. Let me go to XLM on Binance here. So Stellar Lumens, and looking at the weekly chart, I've been talking about this approach to this next major support level. We had 3 long wicks here back in March of last year, and this was where support was found. We're right back at that point. Will it bounce here? Go into the daily chart, you can see prices are right there. If we look at the RSI levels, they're pretty extremely oversold, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see a bounce here at the support. It just happens to coincide with that long-term line. It's quite some time ago. It's March of last year, so will it be significant is yet to be seen. But I'm keeping an eye on prices here. If prices do turn around here and we see some volume come in, may make for a little bit of a nice bounce trade. Even if it doesn't fully retrace, even if it only partially retraces, you're talking double-digit percentage gains at that point. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this for a potential counter trend trade. But in this market, even those are very high risk right now. There's not a lot of upside momentum, and I've seen a lot of these moves kind of fizzle out here in recent days. But that's one I'm watching right now. Another one is Litecoin. Litecoin BTC had been a pretty decent mover, moving strongly, breaking out of this little cup and handle, and it hit that target that I was looking at, that 0.01. I mean, almost exactly, bounced there for a few days, was tightening up, consolidating, and then when BTC pulled back yesterday, this one also dropped lower from that point, right back to this little bit of a breakout point, to the real breakout points right down here, but it's also hitting the 10 EMA, so looking to see if maybe you get a little bit of support in and around that zone, around these 2 moving average pairs, and then ultimately setting up for a potential breakout above this 0.01, and then when the next target again, it'd be 0.016 or 0.010607, in and around that range would be my next upside target. If we look at it from the USD side, this one also is bumping into a little bit of resistance in and around that $35 level, so that's going to be the level to be watching. Now, this pair doesn't look as strong and as bullish as the BTC pair. You've got this big resistance zone right here in the middle where prices try to pop into that $40 range and then quickly got rejected. And so support right now is around that $30 mark, and near-term resistance around that $35 level. And so if the BTC pair can get going, I'd be watching this one to see if we can clear 35, and then next target would be 40 on the upside. I'm also keeping an eye on EOS. If EOS can continue to hold up here. If this market gets going, this could be one that could lead the way up. I've been watching this chart here find a pretty decent low here at this 6,300 level. I posted this on Twitter, but if you go to the daily chart, you can see just how range bound this has been since mid-December. It's been trading within a pretty consistent bound. Here it's at the lower end, but it's starting to find a little bit of upward momentum here in recent days. Of course, resistance is going to be right here above that 7,200 level, but I'm keeping an eye on this one because it is showing a little bit of near-term relative strength compared to some of these other names. And this is, again, the BTC pair. And so watching this one here, if it can get going, I'm going to be looking at this very near term around that 7,000 level on the BTC pair. See if we can clear that. If it does, then I'm looking at a run to the next target around that 7,300. Binance coin continues to run. BNB, as we've seen, was steady climber, marching higher, and then consolidated here in this little range. Had a pretty good little shakeout there, but then just in the last couple days, really pushing higher. Looking at it from the BNB USD pair, I mentioned here in the group as well, I posted 730, that level I was watching, and then above that has room to run. Next target was at $8 target, which has now been realized, and then above that you're looking at just above $9 as the next target. But volume is starting to get a little climactic here, so I'd be a little bit more cautious at this point. The daily RSI is above 70 now, and so certainly has had a good run, but it is starting to feel a little extended here in the near term. If we go to the 4-hour chart here, you're seeing a little bit of pause, a little bit of consolidation here in and around that target that I was looking at, right around $8. So we'll see if it can pause here and give us one more push into that $9 range. But again, I'd be a little bit more cautious here, probably not giving this one much room to the downside if I was initiating a new position at this point. And last but not least, BTT, the BitTorrent token that is recently debuted here after a very nice little consolidation here. It broke out and went on quite a monster run here. You can see this was really the IPO breakout base. We had this initial debut on the exchange on the 31st. This is the 4-hour view, and just prices sat tight here for a while, then started to drift lower before really surging higher. And once they broke above that level, there was that 5,500-ish, went on quite a run, up 127% before finally topping out here, pulling right back right now, holding up at the EMA pair. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this one to see if it gives us another leg higher. But what a run it's had. Certainly the strongest name out there at this point. A lot of pumping, a lot of promotion happening here on Twitter and some of these others by the Tron folks and anybody who really has a stake in this. But just keep in mind, long term, I mean, there are a ton of tokens. They're on a very long-term token airdrop that's going to be happening every month, every 11th starting this month. Tron holders are going to get the airdrop, and so it's going to be interesting to see how prices react going in and around the 11th of the month. But this first run that we had after that exchange debut was quite the move here. But like I said, long term, there's going to be a ton of supply, and me personally, just not something I'm looking at this as a long-term hold. But from a trading perspective, there's certainly some pretty decent moves here to be had. But all in all, the market all around just remains flat, somewhat drifting lower, and just low volatility. So the trend is still very much downward at this point. So I'm remaining patient, just kind of sitting tight, waiting for clear direction at this point. Even on the short side, I'm not really trading on the short side at this point, just because the momentum really hasn't been there at this point to really make it worth some of the risk and the risk reward potential there. So just kind of sitting tight, waiting this out. In fact, I'm more looking at the long end at this point for some of these potentially very oversold names, but I don't want to front run any of them. I'm not going to try to pick the bottoms. I'm going to just wait until we start to see more upside confirmation, some stronger buying volume coming in, and at that point we'll look to see if we start to get a little bit more widespread rally across the alts, especially in some of the bigger major cap names. You're always going to have these names, smaller cap, mid cap names. There's always going to be one or two that are running regardless of what the market's doing. But I prefer when generally there's just a good momentum across the board, puts the odds in my favor when I'm trading, and just makes it a little bit easier from that perspective in terms of managing risk. So just going to sit tight. I will keep the updates coming, of course. and look forward to a weekly recap either Friday or early Saturday. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.